Well, happy Sunday, everyone. Okay, let's just get organized here. I'm so glad that you could join me today. We're going to do something that... got a fuzz on my lip. Yeah. We're going to do something today that if you had asked me when I started keto, I would have said, this can't be done. But this can be done. Now, I want to talk to you about something. We are going to do tempura batter today, and we're going to deep fry some awesome stuff. So, deep frying, is that keto? It can be. It's not when you're at a fast food place. Tempura batter, keto, it is going to be the way we do it. And the way we do it, ours is going to be 0 grams of carbs. That's right, 0. Well, okay, maybe 0.1 because we are going to put an egg in there. If you have normal tempura batter, in the same amount, you would have 22 grams of carbs. So, 22 grams of carbs, that's more than you should have in an entire day. But in ours, you're going to be able to enjoy it, and you're going to be able to enjoy it without even worrying about counting the carbs, depending on what it is you decide to put in your tempura batter. Now, just so you know, coffee this morning, Da Vinci sugar-free hazelnut. Oh my goodness. It is so good. Now, I am just going to set that over here. I'm going to set that over here, right beside. Look at what I have in my kitchen. My husband, I think I'll keep him. So he just bought me flowers for no particular reason the other day, and I have been enjoying them so much. Yeah, they are just so beautiful. So anyway, let's get busy. We are going to do tempura batter. Okay, let me see where I am here. There we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. Now this is 20 grams of whey protein isolate. Now, whey protein isolate, or you can probably use protein powder. I'm not going to make promises on that, but I'm pretty sure that protein powder would work pretty close to the same. You can Google it. See if you can find a keto tempura batter recipe just using protein powder. You likely can. Okay, so the protein powder that I'm using, I am going to show you. Now, this is a product that I got on Amazon, and I got it because it had good reviews, and not only did it have good reviews, but it also, I'm just going to set this over here, it had good reviews, and it was a reasonable price. You can pay a ridiculous amount of money for protein whey isolate, and when you look at it, it's going to look like it's quite expensive. And it is until you think about how much you use. Now, we're using 20 grams of protein whey isolate. Now, this is a little, I don't know, 1.5 cup bowl. It's just a wee little bit in the bowl. Can you see that? We'll see if we can block the light so you can see how much is in there. It's just a bit, a couple tablespoons. Okay, so we've got 20 grams of protein whey isolate, and out of that big jug, that's 2 pounds, which is, well, it's about 1 kilogram. So it's 1,000 grams, and we have 20 in this bowl. So it doesn't take a lot. I use protein whey isolate for making keto bread. I use it in all kinds of things. And it's taking the place of gluten. So if you're, and it doesn't, okay, I need to explain that a little bit. So it's taking the place of gluten, but it isn't the same as gluten. So that's important to remember. Now to this, we are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Now this is homemade baking powder. And if you've been with me for any length of time, you'll know that the reason that I'm doing homemade baking powder is because it has no cornstarch in it. One of the most popular brands in Canada when you look at the jar of baking powder, the very first ingredient in it is cornstarch. I did not go to the store to buy cornstarch. I went to the store to buy baking powder. Now, the cornstarch is a filler. It just is. And so we make our baking powder using 1 part baking soda and 2 parts, oh, I'm having one of those days, cream of tartar, or 2 parts baking soda and 1 part citric acid. Either way, you have a single, there we go, active baking powder. So it's not a double acting baking powder, it's single, but that's okay. So a 1/4 teaspoon, and this, I made this jar, oh goodness, last summer. And you want to make sure, if you are making your own baking powder, make sure you keep it in a glass jar with a tin lid. So this is just a pickle jar with a tin lid on it. Okay, so there's that. Now, to that, we are also going, and you know what? I just messed up because that should be 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and I put in 1/4. So we'll do that one more time. One more time. Can you tell when I'm reading the recipe? And I played with this recipe yesterday, and oh my goodness. Supper was good. And you know, depending on what it is that you're dipping in tempura batter, you're going to have a meal with no carbs, 0 carbs. So there is no carbs in our whey protein isolate. There is no carbs in the other ingredients that we're adding. Now this is a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, if I am just cooking for me, in all honesty, I would probably add a little more salt. But you can also add salt after you cook it. You can sprinkle a little bit of salt on. So, you know, depending on who it is you're cooking for. And then we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now, xanthan gum is working with the whey protein to take the place of gluten. It's never going to react exactly the same way as gluten, and we don't need it to. We just need it to make a beautiful fluffy tempura batter. Now, one thing that I will tell you is whatever you are going to be dipping in your batter, get it cut up and ready to go at least a couple hours beforehand, even the night before, and leave it uncovered in your fridge and let it dry, because you don't want to be adding a bunch of liquid to your tempura batter. So we've got this mixed up, and I forgot one of the ingredients, and this is an important one. We are going to be using club soda. Now, club soda also has no carbs in it. Do not buy tonic water instead. Tonic water has a ton of sugar in it. Okay, so now to this, we are going to add 1 large egg, which I'm going to crack in here so you don't get any shells in there. Look at that, I did it. And we're using the whole egg, so we're getting the protein and the fat and all of the deliciousness from that egg. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon, that's it, 1 tablespoon of club soda. Now this is low sodium club soda, and I'll tell you why I like this. If you buy something in the store that has a regular amount of salt in it, I promise you it is not good salt. That's just the way it goes. Okay, so we are going to add 1 tablespoon. Now you can use sparkling water too if you like. Put my lid back on here. And we are going to add 1 tablespoon of club soda and put this back in the fridge. You want to refrigerate the club soda because it is not going to fizz. It isn't going to lose nearly as much of its fizz if you keep it in the fridge. The colder it is, the less it fizzes when you open. I have not looked up the science behind that, but I know it's true. Okay, now I'm just using a little egg whisk, and we're going to beat this until it is smooth. And while we're doing that, we're going to get our coconut oil heating, and you don't want to heat it on high. And we're going to add some more, because I used this last night. If you have a deep fryer, go ahead and use your deep fryer if you want to. I do not have a deep fryer, and I really don't want one. And I'm using coconut oil rather than avocado oil. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. And when we're done today, and I've let this cool, it will still be liquid. Okay. 2 hands, and I need 3. And we'll just put this away. Okay, now while that is melting, we'll finish getting this mixed up. And this tempura batter, it looks like tempura batter. It just is acting like tempura batter. And you beat it up until there's no lumps. And it takes a minute or 2. And we're maybe going to heat this up a little bit faster for a minute. Now I have a candy thermometer in here. And where we want this is about 350 degrees. Now, once we have our tempura batter all beautiful and silky, and get all of that yumminess out of my whisk, and we'll just set that over there. Now, this morning, I'm going to be doing vegetables and chicken. So, you're going to help me with something this morning, actually, because not only am I doing vegetables and chicken, but I'm also testing my candy thermometer that I do not have a whole lot of faith in anymore. And I'm thinking that it is just pretty much done, but we'll see. We'll see what happens as this gets hotter, but I'm kind of thinking probably not a whole lot is going to happen. Now, we want our oil at 350 degrees, and you want your tempura batter smooth, and you want anything that you are dipping in your tempura batter to be dried a little bit, because we don't want to get a lot of moisture in here when we are deep frying, because that extra moisture, when it goes into the oil, it's going to splatter, and when it goes into the tempura batter, it's not going to do good things there either. So I have 3 pardon me, I have 3 little pieces of zucchini. This one I think maybe got a little bit too cold last night, but that's okay. And I have 2 mushrooms and 1 chicken thigh. So this entire meal is maybe going to have 1 gram of carbs in it. Maybe. Yeah, depends on how many vegetables. If we did this only with chicken and shrimp and beef and whatever you want to, well, maybe my thermometer is going to work. We'll see. If you did it only with meat and the tempura batter, 0 carbs. You would have a meal, a crispy, crunchy meal with 0 carbs. And if you want to dip it in some sour cream, don't use a lot, because there's a little bit of carbs in sour cream, but we're going to make a delicious sauce for this in a little bit. Okay, so we have our chicken cut up ready to go. Make sure that your pieces are uniform, and you'll see these 2 pieces are a little bit bigger. So if I'm going to do those, I'm going to do them separately, and then you want to warm them up a little bit. So these have been out for about 20 minutes, just warming up a wee bit. And then we are going to, you know, I have this thing about touching meat, so that's not going to happen. Okay, so we are going to take a couple of pieces of the chicken, and we're just going to put it in the tempura batter. And I just messed up, and I'll show you why. Okay, we're going to take the chicken out of there. I'm going to put a little bit of the tempura batter in this bowl with the chicken, because if there is any moisture on it, I want to make sure that I'm not getting the moisture in all of the tempura batter. So there's that. So we'll just do the chicken in here, and then we can take another bowl and just do it a little bit at a time. Okay, now this is smoking, so this thermometer is hooped. Okay, but we are ready to go, so we are going to check it, and we are definitely needing to cool us down. So we're going to just let it cool down a little bit. Now I've got this at 400 and oh my goodness, yep, that is definitely a little bit too hot. Doesn't take very long to heat up if you turn your burner up. Okay, now if I throw anything in here right now, it is definitely going to burn. So best way to deal with this, because I don't want this oil to burn anymore or to get too hot, we're just going to put it in another pot. Now this pot is cold, so that's going to help cool that oil down. I'm just going to set that hot pot in my oven, and we will test this oil again. And that oil, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, we are almost, where are we? Yep, temperature's coming down. So we're going to leave this for a couple of minutes. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We are going to do this. Where is my, there it is. We're going to take our chicken, make sure that it is beautifully coated in the tempura batter, and whoops, you have to have a handle on it. Now let's just put that in there. Now these are only going to take about a minute on either side to cook, and you don't want to do more than about 3 in, depending on how much oil you've got, because it is going to cool your oil down, and you definitely want to keep that oil temperature up at 350. So let's use my ThermoPro. I love this thermometer. It is awesome. And we have that at 350. We're doing good. Okay, so I've got my magnetic induction burner set on 2, and I'm going to put 2 more pieces of chicken in here, so they'll be ready. And we'll, Alexa, set a 30-second timer. I've already had it in there.
Starting now.
I've already had it in there for about 30 seconds. So me and my girl cook together all the time. Now, I want to give a huge shout out, because today is April 30th, and I can tell you, April 30th, 39 years ago, I was laying in a hospital bed at the University Hospital in Edmonton, Alberta, waiting for my beautiful baby girl to arrive 2 months early. Alexa, stop. 11 weeks early, actually. So now we're just going to turn these over, and we're keeping that oil up at the 350 mark. Now, the older your oil is, the more things are going to brown. I mean, you can really brown it if you want to leave it in there for a really long time, but the more you've used the oil, the more brown things are going to get. Now, something else that is really important is having a rack to drain your tempura on. If you take this out of here and you just put it on a plate, it's going to get soggy. So you want to take it out, and you want to put it on a rack. And if you're not sure that these are done, you can use your thermometer to stab the pieces of chicken, and they are not quite done yet, but pretty close. And as they sit on the rack to drain, they are going to stay crispy rather than getting soggy and yucky. So yeah, definitely want to keep those on a cooling rack. So we're going to do that, and then we are going to do a couple more pieces of chicken. And while that chicken is cooking, I want to talk to you about a dipping sauce and a new product that I'm using. Okay, now these are pretty close to done. Now you can use, yeah, these are done. You can use a spider like I have if you have one. If you don't have a spider, you can just use whatever, a slotted spoon, or because they are going to drain on there. And then the little pieces of tempura batter that are left in here, if you can scoop them out, that is a good thing. Otherwise, they're going to continue to cook and you're going to end up with little burnt bits. And we can put those on the rack as well because they are just going to fall right through. Okay, now we have, now if you look, this tempura batter with the chicken in it is not nearly as bubbly and beautiful as the other batter. This is why we're putting a little bit at a time in a bowl and then putting it in the water. Now, I'm going to set that bowl aside because there's too much moisture in the chicken. I'm going to put just a wee little bit in here. Another couple of tablespoons. Now, I would have rinsed that bowl out and dried it and reused it, but we're just going to let those go. And I'm using a cremini mushroom, I don't know. A delicious mushroom. That is what I know is absolutely true. You want to make sure that the inside of it is done nicely. Now these, wash them, take the stem off, and leave them dry overnight. And just pop that in there too. And then we're also going to do one of the pieces of zucchini. And the zucchini and the mushroom, pardon me, they can come in and out much more quickly than the chicken because it doesn't really matter so much how much the mushrooms are cooked, or the zucchini. You can eat them raw. So there's that. We're going to turn these pieces of chicken over and turn that mushroom over. Now when you put the mushroom on the rack, if you've left it whole, and I like mine whole, if you've left it whole, you want to make sure that you are putting it face down so any oil that's in it isn't staying in it. Yeah, we'll just set this rack here. Now we're going to get this done. Get these out of here. Now that mushroom is as done as it needs to be. Oh, this is just going to be so yummy. And the zucchini did not flip over. And the chicken is as done as it needs to be. See, so you can do this with a fork. Don't stab it, because if you stab it, you're going to be letting the oil in. You're going to be letting the steam out. So you want to make sure that you are gentle with these coming out. Now those are just going to sit on the tray, and we'll put our greasy fork there. Now let's talk about a dipping sauce. Pardon me. Now we're going to do it in a keto way. So you're going to be able to do tempura vegetables. I recommend tempura meat. You can take pieces of steak, any kind of pieces of beef. I don't know that I would try meatballs. I don't know, try meatballs. If it works for you, then let me know. But you can take pieces of steak, pieces of roast, pieces of pork chop. If you have thick cut bacon, I don't know if I would try that. There's a little bit too much fat in that. Chicken, turkey, shrimp. I have some shrimp in the fridge that are definitely going to be part of this meal. But they need to be peeled and deveined and all of that kind of stuff. But the next thing that makes tempura so lovely is a really nice sauce. So we're going to take, now this is Gailey Gold. This is my favorite sour cream. Gailey Gold or Bleswold. They're both Canadian products, and both of them do not have cornstarch. And it just, every time I talk about that, It just boggles my mind. Now we're going to take about a tablespoon-ish, give or take. Now this, 1 tablespoon, let's look at the nutrition ingredients on here. 30 milliliters, so 2 tablespoons, has got 2 grams of carbs. So this is about 1 tablespoon. This is about 1 gram of carbs. So in this whole bowl of sauce that we're making, there's 1 gram of carbs. Now the next thing we're going to add is 1 tablespoon of strained tomatoes, or passata. And I really love using passata, and you can't even see what I'm doing here. I love using passata because I know that there's nothing else in it. When you look at it, it should say strained tomatoes in the ingredients. That's all there should be. Let me see. Ingredients, tomatoes and salt. That's it. That's all. So we're going to add 1 tablespoon of passata. So there's no sugar, there's no preservatives. Well, salt, I guess, is a preservative, but okay. And in that 1 tablespoon, or 30 milliliters of passata, there is there is 3, 6, so there is 1.5. 1.5. So we have 1 with the sour cream, 1.5 there. So in the whole bowl so far, we have 2.5. And then to that, I'm going to add about a teaspoon, or a little less, a scant teaspoon, of whatever kind of vinegar you want. Now this is a champagne vinegar. You want a little bit of acid in there. You can use red wine vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar that does not have carbs in it. That's the big thing that you want to remember. You don't want any more carbs in here than you absolutely have to put in. Now the other thing, because it needs a little bit of sweet and a little bit of sour and a little bit of salty, so we're going to add about half a teaspoon of allulose. If you don't have allulose, it's kind of new to Canada. If you don't have allulose, use powdered erythritol, whatever brand you have. But I'm having fun playing with the powdered allulose because it measures the same as sugar, so that's really cool. Okay, then the last thing that we need in pretty much everything that we do is just a pinch of salt. Now these are cooling, so hopefully they're going to be cool enough that we can have a little bit of a bite. And I need my little, where on earth is it? There it is. I have this awesome little whisk. The other one, well, I guess I could use the other one. Now we're going to beat this up and do a taste test. Now I know that for me, this is going to be just fine, but you can do it however you like it. Do you want it a little more sour, a little more sweet? Do you want a little bit of, I don't know, onion powder, garlic powder, whatever you want to put in here, that's fine. Just remember that the carb count is going to go up a little bit with anything that you add that has carbs in it. So we have, what did we say, about 2.5 grams of carbs in this whole bowl, and pardon me, maybe a gram of carbs in our meal. So if we plate this up, look at what we're doing here. Now I could have used a smaller serving bowl, I suppose. Do I have anything little and cute and not right handy? That's okay. This is going to work. This is a meal. Now these are not going to be quite as crispy as the tempura that you get in a restaurant, and that's okay. It's still tempura. It's still beautiful. It's still, oh, it's just amazing. So just, I don't know, can you hear that crunch? It's not crunch like you get with tempura. But it is delicious. Now let's get our veggies here. Now this is our zucchini. Now remember, the important part of this is letting it dry a little bit for a few hours or overnight. Just sitting open on a plate so that you don't have all that extra moisture. And even though we did that with the chicken, you could see in the tempura batter what the chicken had done to it. So just a little bit in a bowl at a time. Do your pieces, put them in the oil. That is awesome. So have a rack of some kind that you can set this on. I use these little racks all the time. They're just teeny tiny and they work perfectly for a lot of stuff that I do. So this is our tempura and it is absolutely lovely. Now this oil, I'm going to let it cool enough that I can handle it. Coconut oil is amazing because coconut oil will still be liquid when it's cool to a certain degree. So you can let this cool and then you can strain it and it will get hard. Throw it in your fridge. You're going to be able to save it for later. And you'll be able to take it out of whatever container with a spoon and reuse it. So coconut oil is wonderful that way. Just strain it through whatever you have handy. I'm going to use my spider. So please try some tempura batter. I tell people all the time that doing keto is not about giving up the things that you love. It is about finding new healthy ways to have them. So find new healthy ways to have the things that you love. And if you've popped in here and you're watching, say hi. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if you are doing keto. And if you are, how long have you been doing keto? You're going to love the tempura batter. I promise. It's easy. It's quick. The only thing that you may not have in your kitchen, and go to Amazon, is the protein whey isolate, or watch at Costco. Be very careful when you order it that you're not ordering chocolate or vanilla. I can't see that working out very well. It's going to be sweet. It's not going to be keto friendly probably. So you want unflavored, very important, unflavored protein whey isolate. Good morning, Cindy. Okay, so get out your mushrooms, get out your zucchini, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your chicken, your steak, your shrimp, whatever it is that you have, your coconut oil. And the coconut oil does not flavor your tempura. So that's important to know. Make sure that you cut your pieces so that they're all relatively the same size so that they're going to cook evenly. And have fun. Play with tempura a little bit at a time, and that way you don't get any extra moisture in your batter. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have an amazing Sunday and an amazing week. I will be here next Sunday, 10 a.m. Mountain. Click the bells and the thumbs and all of the things so that we can hang out here together every week at 10 a.m. Mountain. And we'll do something fun next week. I'm not just sure what it'll be. Last week it was Chinese. This week it's Japanese. What do you want me to do next week? Let me know. I'll see what I can do. Please get hold of someone that you haven't talked to in a while that needs you to reach out to them. It's going to do every bit as much for your world as it is for theirs. So thank you again for joining me, and happy birthday, Jody.